Today is Wednesday, March the 3rd, and you don't have to make it a great day because today is already great. You are listening to the Daily Devo. I am your host, Losco, and I'm so excited that you've chosen to spend 5 minutes with me as we explore word and wisdom for the leader in you. This week, we're talking about you and who you were created to be. And when you get clarity on who you were created to be, you become so much more efficient and productive on the things that you were created to do. You see, it starts with who you are, and then it bleeds over into what you do. That's why yesterday we talked about your reputation. What is it about you that when people say your name, they automatically think about? What is it about you that when people bring you up, they can't help but bring up something else? Maybe that's they can't help but bring up music. They can't help but bring up art. They can't help but bring up politics. They can't help but bring up theology. They can't help but bring up your kindness, your character. What is it that precedes you? Your reputation. What do people hear about you? You see, Jesus illustrates this clarity of self for us. When we look at Luke chapter 7, with the story that begins at verse 18, where John the Baptist, someone who knows who Jesus is, sends his followers, because John the Baptist had his own followers. He sends his followers to Jesus to ask Jesus a question that John already knows the answer to. He says, "Are you the one, or should we look for someone else?" And I just can't help but believe that we're also being challenged with that question. When we think of the issues that plague our lives, our communities, our churches, our world, I can't help but believe people are looking at us and saying, "Are you the one? Or should we look for someone else?" The thing that plagues you, the thing that you have a burden for in your heart, are you the one to address it? Are you the one to build on it? Are you the one to help remedy it? Or should we look for someone else? And the way that Jesus answers the question for the disciples of John the Baptist is the way that we should be able to answer those questions in our lives. I don't spend time defending who I am and who I'm not, but I point you toward my fruit, what you've seen and what you've heard. Yesterday, we dealt with heard. Today, I want to deal with seen, because what you hear about me is my reputation, but what you see about me is my presentation. When I show up, what else shows up with me? When I show up into a room, what just came into that room? Did peace just come into the room? Did reconciliation just come into the room? Did a spirit of unity just come into the room? When I present myself, what comes with me? That's my presentation, the way that I show up in the world. And the way that Jesus showed up in the world was very clear. It was very clear. What Jesus is doing is giving us a depiction of how we are to show up. When we show up, the issues, the burdens that are in our heart, the solutions to those should show up with us. Well, how do we know that? Well, in the midst of the questioning of the disciples of John the Baptist, Jesus is still being who he is and doing what he was called to do. He's still healing people. He's still raising people from the dead. He's still people who couldn't hear, they can now hear. He's yet doing this as the disciples are asking this question. So perhaps what Jesus is illustrating for us is that when we know who we are and we have clarity on that, the way that we show up in the world, not just our reputation, but our presentation, answers the questions for us. Fruit don't lie. Fruit don't Lie. You will know a tree by its fruit. So whatever it is that's coming off of you, that's coming out of you, that speaks directly to what's in you. Are you the one, or should we look for another? So as you go through your day to day, I want you to begin to think about what you do. What do you already do? When you show up, what shows up? What shows up with you? Your presentation. I want you to think about your presentation. And perhaps if the burdens that are in your heart are inconsistent with the way that you show up in the world, then perhaps if you change your presentation, your reputation would change also. And it would get closer to who you were truly created to be. Have a good day.